Hello, welcome to my top 20 players of 2023, my predictions. This was a tough list to make this year because so many players and so many teams played really well. You've had players that transitioned very well to CS2 and others that didn't. So it's going to be an interesting discussion around some of these players, but please stick and watch what I have to say about them. Please consider that I took into account both the individual skill of a player, how good he is, the numbers that he put up, as well as the achievements he had with their team. Because I personally think it's important to, when comparing two players, if one of them was really good and got a bunch of trophies and the other one was even better but didn't get many trophies, I think we should attribute some value to the player that did get the trophies. Of course, this doesn't make or break because you have like a player like Apex that won a ton of trophies this year, won the major, but he's not making it onto the list, obviously, even though he's a great player and a great in-game leader. So hopefully you like it, and if you have any thoughts that you want to discuss about my list or something you don't agree with, please let me know in the comments. I will be happy to talk Counter-Strike. I love the esport. And at the bottom of the list, in the 20th spot, we have Elige. This was tough putting Elige so low, right at the bottom of the list, but the truth is, Elige did not have a great year. He had a great few months with Complexity. Complexity is one of the best teams in the world right now. I think they're sitting at top 5 in HLTV as of recording this, but they'll probably get a bit lower. And I think Elige really helped Complexity be that much of a better team. It was a really good trade for Fang, honestly. The truth is, Elige was not playing for Complexity that whole year. We have to take into account that this is 2023, and Elige with Liquid was just a little bit lackluster. I mean, Liquid was lackluster. Elige gets a low rating, but I believe if Complexity keep this level, next year Elige can be a top 10 player, without a doubt. He's super talented, and right now he's playing out of his mind. And for the 19th spot, we're not leaving the Americas just yet. We have KScirado. Another very weird pick. This is such a talented player. Like, KScirado could be on the better rosters in Europe. He could be on Liquid. He could maybe even be on Complexity, to be honest. But the thing about KScirado is he wants to stay on Furio. He wants to elevate Brazilian CS. Sure, I understand that, but I don't think he's going very far if he just wastes his career there. I know Fury have just won a tournament, but it took him all year, and even with all the roster changes that made the Brazilian super team, they just didn't get that far. In Tier 2 tournaments that they were supposed to win, they were failing hard, so I mean, it's hard to put KScirado at a higher level, even though I think he deserves it, because he is extremely talented. And there was a period in 2023 when people were saying he was like a top 3 rifler in the world, and I have no doubt in believing that he was. But individual skill alone does not put him higher on the list. We have to see achievements, and we have to see where his career went. But KScirado is an excellent player, and depending on what he does in 2024, I think we'll potentially see KScirado landing a little bit higher. And at number 18, a player that is just a solid pick, honestly, Exertion. Exertion is a really decent player. He's solid, and he was solid on Mouse for the whole year. It's a shame to see that Exertion did not win more trophies. He won a Pro League with Mouse, but that's when Shui came in, which was in October, I believe. That's like very late in the year. The rest of the year, they were a top 10 team, but they didn't really do much to even contest top 5. But Exertion was never the problem, I feel like. I think Torzy was a bigger problem because he was very inconsistent. There were even rumors that Torzy was going to be swapped out for the Russian Dexter. Just because he wasn't putting up decent numbers. He seems a little bit revitalized now that Shui came in, Torzy I mean, but still, Mouse had to have a better year if Exertion wanted to land higher. So I think 18 is actually the perfect spot. And at number 17, this one is a little bit, this one is a little bit controversial, but BlameF lands at my 17th spot. So the reason why, let me explain, right? Please stick with me. BlameF is a good player, without a doubt, even though he has the baiting problem and whatever. I think that has toned down a little bit. But Astralis did not make many deep runs this year. Astralis just now started to click, and I think with this Ston and Yabi roster, It's going to really elevate them into the top 10. Potentially top 5, depends on how competition is looking the next year. But this year, overall, Blame F just didn't have enough deep runs. And a few deep runs in the last few months can't place him higher than 17, in my opinion. Let's see what Astralis does next year, and I think Blame F can land a little higher. Number 16 in the world, we have Ston. Again, another player that is a little surprising to see here. I mean, it's not surprising that Ston makes the top 20 list, right? He's one of the best Danish players. A lot of people consider him one of the top 10 riflers in the world. But the thing with Ston is his consistency, which is absolutely terrible. I mean, it's not terrible, because in group stages, Ston is really good, puts up good numbers, always like the top fragger. But when he gets into playoffs, semis, like quarterfinals and stuff, Ston seems to disappear. And it seems like he isn't the star anymore of his team. And that affected Heroic a little bit, because Heroic had an excellent year. I think 2023, even if they didn't lift a lot of trophies, I think they won a single event. They still had a really good year. They were like the second best team for many, many months. They always failed to get through the final hurdles, but they were consistent. Like, they were consistently making playoffs. And I just think overall Heroic were, a pretty good team. So Ston made a lot of deep runs, made a lot of quarterfinals, made a lot of semifinals. Didn't win many, but still. So that's why he's a little bit low on this list. I think if Heroic had won a few more events, which I think they had the caliber to, Ston would have made it higher. I think Ston could have stolen the 10th or 9th best player in the world spot, at least for this year. Maybe next year, with this new Astralis roster, they can do it. And at number 15, we have a player that is extremely solid, Hunter from G2. Hunter's a player that I really respect, and I often compare him to Twists. Not in terms of roles, but there's a key aspect that I think they are similar in. So, you have these two stars. You have Nico and m0NESY, or you have Rops and Brokey on FaZe. And then you have a third player who will sometimes pop off and top frag and change games by themselves. They're usually not a liability. You're not going to lose matches because of them. They're always solid riflers that are going to do their roles. They're going to do it well. They're not set up to be stars, but sometimes they feel like stars. And I feel like that applies to both Twists and Hunter. They're similar in that regard, I feel like. Might be a silly comparison, but that's just how I see Hunter. And Hunter played really well for G2. Their problem, I think, was consistency. They just weren't very consistent. I feel like sometimes G2 would be the most dangerous team in a tournament, and at other times, you wouldn't even have to worry about them. But Hunter was never really the problem. Hunter was never even considered to be on the chopping block, and I understand. Hunter's really solid at his role, and he deserves this 15th spot in the world. And at number 14, we have a player that is contributing to my most recent depression, Nerds. I'm gonna miss ENCE. I'm really gonna miss ENCE. So just yesterday, the news broke that Nerds was signed by Heroic. And I think in 2024 it will be an interesting year for Nerds, because it really depends on what Heroic can do with him and what team they can build around him and Sjuush. It's just sad, because ENCE was a really good roster. ENCE made a lot of good runs this year, made a bunch of finals, won IEM Dallas 2023. Of course, Nerds was not the star events, it was Senpai's. But Nerds had really good plays that turned around games, and he was always solid. If Heroic use him next year as the superstar of the team, the superstar rifler, get a really good Opper and another really good rifler, maybe Jacob and Nock from Apex, alongside with Kykson, who's pretty much confirmed that they're looking at him, then maybe I can see Nerds being a little bit higher, because I do think he has potential. And number 13 in the world is an oddball, definitely. Why is he so low? Shiro at 13 in the world. What a strange world we live in. The reason why Shiro is so low is not because of his talent or off matches that he had. It's just because he benched himself on Cloud9. If he had played with Cloud9, just a little bit longer, if he had played more CS2 matches, then maybe he would have landed higher, maybe in the top 10, because I believe Shiro individually, like skill-wise, he has the skill to be a top 5 player, right? But benching himself kind of cost him a little. Because if other players play throughout the whole year and he just plays a few months, like it's unfair to put him over other players. And it's his performance alone, like just being really good, that put him in still such a high place even though he has been gone for a few months. I think in 2024 with Spirit, Shiro can shine, especially because he got Dong now, the upcoming amazing talent that we've all seen. But it all depends on the other core of Spirit, Magix, Chopper, and Zontix. I think it's going to be tough. The two superstars with 3 players that are just like, they're good, but, when you're comparing it to other CIS talents like Flit, Fame, Electronic, Excel, it's going to be tough competition. But hopefully Shiro can pick it up, and next year he makes the top 10 easily. Next up, 12 in the world, a player that I have mentioned just now, Twists makes the list. Twists is great. Honestly, Twist is one of those players that I think was going to land a little lower, but he had a good year with FaZe. I mean, FaZe were kind of losing their heat a little bit at the end of CSGO, but with CS2 they really rise to the occasion, got like 3 trophies in CS2, the undisputed best team of that period, and Twist is an X factor. He was really, really good. Frozen has some big shoes to fill. I think he can do it, but still big shoes to fill. In 2024, Twists can go higher, I believe. I think Liquid will be a really strong team, and Twists keeps his top 20 spot absolutely next year, without a doubt. And our last player for this video is a player that I wasn't expecting to be this high, but I think I just have to give it to him. At number 11 in the world, we have Device. Yeah, Device is both high and low on the list. Low by like Device standards, absolutely amazing player. In the history of CSGO, he's like the 3rd best player in the world, without a doubt. Some people even say like the best just because of how many majors he's got. Definitely most accomplished one. But this year, Device just didn't have an amazing year with Astralis. Individually, great year. Super consistent, super talented, big numbers every single time. That's why he's so high on the list. He's just individually, he's such a good player that carries him up the rankings so much more. But with Astralis, as I said with BlameF, they didn't achieve much, so this is as high as I can go with Device. With this new roster though, Astralis has potential to break into the top 10, and I think we'll see Device landing a little bit higher next year, especially with all the roster moves that are going to happen. I think Device still has the potential to make the top 10. And that's it. I hope you liked the first part. Second part is coming up. Like, comment, just interact with the video, and hopefully I'll see you very, very soon.